Hello, hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for joining another episode of our daily AI book reading, where we spend 30 minutes of our time to go through some selected AI books. For those that are joining us for the first time, welcome for joining. Um, the beginning of this year, we embarked on a journey to complete 4 books with major emphasis on AI ethics, AI governance, and responsible AI. And so far, we've been able to complete the reading of 3 AI books. And the first one we read is titled AI Governance, a Primer, and the author is Edward Aden. And the second book that we read is titled AI Governance, Applying AI Policy and Ethics Through Principle and Assessment. And the author is Dr. Daryl J. Carlton. And the third book we read is an unofficial guide for prepping for AI Governance Professional Certification, which is abbreviated as AIGP. Is a certification exam that is coordinated by International Association of Privacy Professional, IAPP. And currently, we're reading the last book that we have on our bucket list, which is titled Responsible AI in the Age of Generative Model. This is the book we're currently reading, and the author is I. Alameda. And for this one, we're almost done with it. We're almost done with it. And I guess we're in chapter 74. And let me see the title. It is titled EU AI Act Analysis and Implication. But we are currently in page 425. Okay. Please endeavor to share the link, share the profile on all other social media platforms so others can be a part of it and be a beneficiary. Just to provide a little bit context, you might be wondering why we're engaging in this daily book reading. Is to help us deepen our knowledge of artificial intelligence, most especially from an ethical point of view. And, as an individual, understanding the ethical practices of artificial intelligence will guide you to use AI safely for your own personal purpose, where you don't make a mistake by imputing information that you are not supposed to provide to artificial intelligence. Then, where you don't want to become a victim that comes with the risks associated with the use of artificial intelligence, for your daily use. And as an individual working in an organization, it will also help you to collaborate with others, helping you to build AI technology that complies with responsible AI policy of the organization, and also help you to also shine among your team members, helping them to cultivate that ethical mindset and approach in terms of implementing and driving AI implementation within the organization. Because building ethical AI products is very vital to the growth of the organization. Then, if you are building an AI technology that is not ethically compliant, there is a likelihood that the AI solution you are building would be a disaster rather than be a catalyst to help the organization grow. Okay, let's continue. Um, we're in page 425. It's a budget and recruiting to staff domain expert bodies like the EU AI board and national authorities are also unclear currently, potentially hampering effective oversight and capability building, especially in smaller number states. Geopolitical pressure regarding innovation leadership and calls to some down regulation from European AI startups and research institute could further constrain resources and implementation priorities. Moreover, the region's voluntary standardization apparatus around AI involving entities like Senelec uh, is spelled as CEN, then an iPhone, then CENELEC, and methodologies like technical specification on testing framework will require proactive stewardship and participation from public authorities to enable the ecosystem support needed for trust and accountability to scale on the ground. Getting the gritty details right around staffing, budgeting, and institutional coordination amid economic constraint and tech sector lobbying will be crucial to translate the EU AI regulatory vision into decisive enforcement and material outcome. Strategic implication for businesses. One, assessing risk profile of AI portfolio. The EU risk-based approach to AI governance obliges providers, especially non-EU companies targeting European markets, to evaluate if any other catalog of products and service offering we qualify as high-risk AI system once rules are enforceable. This requires appointing internal roles and responsibility around maintaining a continuously updated inventory, detailing the capabilities, data dependency, use cases, and performance metrics of all AI systems implicated by the regulation. A systematic process is needed for risk classification along dimensions like endpoint vulnerabilities, data sensitivities, and foreseeable likelihood of system causing fundamental right infringement on other societal concern based on their design, function, and commercial deployment context. For multinational enterprises, ensuring responsible AI principles are embedded adequately are embedded adequately early on rather as an exposed compliance play also warrant rethinking internal development policy, reskilling workforces on transparency and accountability methodologies, and instituting independent ethical advisory council than that enable external stakeholder participation in strategic technology, decision making beyond conventional solution target purely at efficiency or margins. Two, reimagining development and deployment. For providers, achieving EU regulatory compliance will require reimagining AI development, deployment, and post-market stewardship processes, focused holistically on trustworthiness rather than purely accuracy or user engagement metrics. Developing iRigs application require extensive documentation around data sets, model architecture, testing protocols, performance benchmark, and maintenance to enable both internal and external audits. Technical design choices like transparency mechanism, human oversight provision, and cybersecurity defenses will need elevating as first-class consideration rather than one-off check, closer, or release. Deployment also now include extensive pre-release conformity assessment against fluid qualitative criteria open to evolving interpretation, requiring coordination with scarce domain expertise around ethics, fundamental rights, and technical assurance to mitigate adverse outcome at population scale over long horizons. Responsibility don't end post shipping either, with stringent post market surveillance duties around continuous risk monitoring and incident reporting that integrate back into development. Operationalizing this lifecycle governance demand new executive roles like AI ethics officer, enhanced technology qualification across domains like law and social sciences, fresh appraisal metrics looking at sustainability and justice, and participative design processes that proactively seek input from marginalized communities and civil society direct and alongside direct end users. Three, new operating model for trust and compliance. The EU pioneering AI Acts will compel providers to to architect next generation technology value, claims transforming opaque software releases towards robust and inclusive assurance framework managed through interdisciplinary collaboration. Conventionally, engineers independently build systems fulfilling business requirements within resource constraints before occasionally liaising with adjacent compliance teams. Closer to deployment. However, constructing trustworthy AI requires radically cross-functional involvement continuously throughout ideation itself. For instance, proposing solutions now requires proactively consulting assessors to preempt risks, while data scientists need to simplifying data set scrutiny by experts weighing biases early on. Conformity evaluation happen concurrently rather than eventually, guiding design iteration aligned with the rule of law. Post-market feedback loops between incident response, customer service, product, and legal teams should systematically enhance systemic oversight too. Responsible innovation is thus a distributed organizational effort needing revised operational models, novel partnerships within and between institutions, and experimental upskilling initiatives that mainstream accessibility, ethics, and accountability philosophies. Institutionally, rather than mechanically complying checklists, authentic trustworthiness emails cultural transformation. The next point, cross-functional coordination implications. The extensive transparency, quality, and risk management obligation imposed by the EU AI Act require enhanced coordination between numerous internal teams spanning technology, product, legal, compliance, and other groups depending on deployment domains. For instance, conformity assessment require extensive technical documentation detailing system capabilities, underlying data, evaluation results, maintenance procedure, etc., prepared by architect, which legal team must verify as meeting cybersecurity, privacy, and assistive interface standard. While compliance officers validate risks, mitigation measures, and accessibility for oversight. Post-market surveillance will also warrant integrating customer support experiences around reliability challenges with continuous monitoring protocols designed by data engineers, capturing metrics indicating drops in necessary fairness or security emerging from real-world environmental shifts, finding by domain auditors around fundamental rights impact must likewise systematically update training data and benchmark maintained by machine learning teams. Instituting accountable AI thus require synchronizing historically sliced workflows into regular touch points, unified training criteria, complementary appraisal metrics, shared vocabularies, and platform facilitating seamless exchange of discoveries, furthering safety, transparency, and bias mitigation across discipline. Only robust 360-degree oversight can sustain public trust as a complexity increases. Point five, impact of extraterritorial applicability. A defining expansive aspect of the EU regulatory approach is its explicit extraterritorial scope, encompassing providers and users of AI systems globally as long as EU resident rights are implicated through access or usage. The extensive jurisdictional claim significantly impact organizations without any physical or legal presence with Europe. For instance, a US startup creating smartphone application using machine learning algorithm will still need appointing EU-based legal representatives and ensuring appropriate transparency disclosure in the App Store listing made available to European consumers. Canadian, let me see, okay. Canadian robotics company participating in European smart city procurement bid also can't escape relevant third-party testing or certification requirements imposed for those geographic procurement contests before systems get installed or operationalized locally. Every organization must monitor if technical outputs, commercial availability, or advertising targeting qualify as AI-based interaction with natural person in EU geographies with rights obligation. The extraterritorial approach aims preventing offshore loopholes via linking obligation to the factor point of consumption, protecting European citizens' rights and interests rather than territorial jurisdiction alone. However, practical enforcement capacity constraints around detecting non-compliance by distant vendors plus geopolitical interdependency may require selective interpretations by member states minimizing conflict. Point six, cost and constraint to innovation. While regulators emphasize necessity and proportionality, industry critic contends the EU AI Act extensive transparency duties around supply chain and stringent conformity assessment stifle innovation by disproportionately increasing compliance burdens for smaller enterprises and startups unable to afford the overheads. The shift required within development workflow, heightened certification barriers, slowing down releases, big tech advantages in readily furnishing extensive documentation, and costs associated with proving unpredictable models on ambiguous qualitative criteria like fairness or safety could constrain funding for entrepreneurs experimenting across long real niche segment versus platform incumbents. Additionally, current research literature still lack robust proactive technical method for accurately assessing issues such as bias vulnerability or the gradual impact on population over extended period. The gap in methodology effectively make it impractical to deploy certain technologies, such as those used for allocating financial credit, selecting candidates for employment, or assessing risks in criminal justice within European markets. These challenges persist despite argument that concern over these issues have been minor so far. Furthermore, when other international regimes impose reciprocal restrictions on European innovation, it significantly narrows the opportunities for this technology to be adopted globally. However, most knowledge responsible innovation is an iterative journey, needing positive encouragement. Hence, transparency, not prohibition, is the progressive path, with obligations scaling to deployment and commercialization stages rather than prematurely constraining uh, speculative discovery by student academies or early stage companies, still shaping direction, setting the right regulatory tone, remain balancing trade-off. The next point 7, pressure for voluntary code of conduct. While the EU risk-based framework mandates extensive requirements only on providers of high-risk AI systems, there will be increasing public calls and regulatory nudges for companies to voluntarily adopt code of conduct, extending similar trustworthy practices to lower risk AI application. 2, non-binding norms around transparency, testing, and accountability could be could be catalyzed through sectoral alliances between lending vendors within domains like autonomous mobility, precision medicine, and programmatic advertising to preempt restrictive intervention over rising incidents or safety lapses or fundamental rights controversies down the road. Committing higher standard voluntarily also shield companies against competitive disadvantages once baseline expectations shift. Brussels authorities will likely convene multi-stakeholder roundtable alongside European standardization bodies around crystallizing building Eastern industry practices into widely adopted code, spanning data benchmarking guides, model fact sheet, proportional testing protocols, risk assessment checklists, and subgroup equity metrics, facilitating justice. Stringent requirement for publicly procuring commercial or government AI contracts will further precipitate uptake. Large platforms especially, may pursue voluntary restraint and disclosure, addressing societal concern to rehabilitate reputation and political goodwill damaged by recent free speech, competition, and content scandals, giving increasing calls for breakup by antitrust regulators, demonstrating hence, hence stress, avoiding past mistakes will be imperative rebuilding citizen trust on emerging technologies. We finish as we started, back to fundamental rights. A pioneering governance innovation within the EU AI Act requires certain IRIX application, undergo fundamental rights impact assessment, evaluating design and deployment safeguard around principles of human dignity, fairness, and non-discrimination. However, operationalizing law aspirational edit into code and commerce requires tremendous interdisciplinary breakthroughs, not still still nascent. Methodologically, philosophers, context technologies, whether machine prediction, even comport dictatively with moral concepts like justice that contingently balance societal trade-off through public reasons. Notions around dignity or autonomy also prohibit definitive indications and threshold amenable for testing protocols. And empirical sciences struggle formally, modeling complex social stereotypes or even agreeing on metrics assessing model biases. They are proxy or measurable harms. Culturally, too, the diverse life realities across European languages, histories, and economies imply gradients of shifting norms, challenging on animals appraisals, especially where AI mediated decision significantly impacts minority welfare. What look like neutral automation efficiency, streamlining status quo institution may covertly encode parochial interests that require fundamental restructuring benefiting those displaced. Therefore, earnestly fostering fundamental rights require institutionalizing participatory assessment framework, facilitating iterative translation, contestation, and redress around technological intervention through renewed investment, strengthening communities vulnerable against accelerated automation, merely multiplying bureaucratic oversight, absent structural rehabilitation risks, exacerbating prevailing uh, inequities further. Yeah, that brings us to the end of today's book reading. And if you pay close attention, I know this was a lot. There was a lot of, will I say, a lot of vocabularies that were actually kind of, pointed out in this reading. The discussion was majorly focused on the territorial or geographical adoption of artificial intelligence. What that actually implies is that the EU have their own AI regulation. Then, if you are an AI organization that is based in US, for you to be able to expand your markets to the EU region, you have to what stay compliant or compliant with the AI Regulation Act in Europe and also in other regions, maybe in Africa or in Oceania or in Asia. Most especially China. China have a very stringent regulation when it comes to expanding technology markets to the Asian region. And the EU too has a very stringent regulation. When it comes to ranking the region that have a very robust framework in terms of AI regulation, I think EU is ranking number one at this point. Yeah, at this point in time, they are ranking number one. They have a lot of robust, documentation, instrument, and guideline, and a lot of checklists from that helps you to make decision when you are purchasing an AI technology, down to checklists that actually guide you when it comes to implementing AI technology that captures information like proper documentation process and also talks about delegation of duty within the AI team, what is expected of various individuals around the team. And there are guidelines that also kind of point out effective collaboration, among the AI organization. These are, information that are captured in the EU AI Act. And also, another thing I also like about the EU AI Act is categorizing the AI risks. Yeah, it categorizes it into four. There is AI technology of high risk. There is one of no risk or no consign, and there is another AI risk which is of middle level. Yeah, that is mid-risk AI technology. Then they also kind of have a proper outline of what steps should be taken, what two checklists, should be adopted when you are able to categorize your AI technology based on what risk category it belongs to. Then that is basically what today's book reading covers, talking about AI regulation from a territorial point of view. Then if there, like now, I'll give you a practical use case. There is an online channel which is called Paramount. If you are able to access Paramount here in the US, when you go to an EU region, you might not be able to access Paramount on your laptop. I mean, on your browser, yeah, on the internet, you'll not be able to access it because there is a regulation that prohibits you from accessing Paramount TV online in the EU region. Now, this kind of behavior is, you know, can also be witnessed with using AI technology. Then there are certain AI technology that can be used in the US because the rules or the regulation here in the US permits you to be able to use them. But in EU, where it is restricted, then the AI manufacturer has to comply with the regulation in Europe for that AI technology to become operational or for users to be able to use it. If not, your AI technology can be banned or you can be sued for it. And we've heard of several situations where Apple was sued because they actually go against some of the EU policy. Yeah. Okay, that brings us to the end of today's book reading. If you are joining this live for the first time, we have a daily task we engage in is spending 30 minutes of our time to go through some selected AI book reading. And we beginning of this year, the goal was to complete the reading of 4 books. We've been able to read 3 books, and this is the last one. And this one we're almost done. The title is Responsible AI in the Age of Generative Model. Mind you, I'm not the author. I do not have any form of partnership with the author. This is just a book we selected, just based on personal preference. Yeah, then I don't have any partnership with the author of the book. Yeah, you can get a copy of the book from Amazon if you're interested. And if you want to be able to catch up with some of the previous reading, if you're on Instagram, please just go to previous recording. And if you're on LinkedIn, click on my bio or send me a DM. I will send you the YouTube. We have a YouTube channel that is titled AI Book Club. There you can watch or catch up with some of the previous readings, the other books that we've read. This one we're almost done. I guess we have about 5 or 6 pages left to complete this book, just the conclusion aspect of it. Okay. If you do have any question, and I also throw it out there, if you are a small business owner or you are individual that is using AI for your personal day-to-day activities, please, I would like to host you. Let us understand how you are exploring AI or utilizing AI to achieve productivity, and also how you are using AI probably to make more income, or how AI is making your life easy. Yeah, I would like to have such discussion. Then if you are using AI in any capacity and you would like to share this story with others, I'm happy to bring you live. Then send me a personal DM on LinkedIn, send me a personal DM on Instagram, on YouTube, on Twitch, and also Facebook. And if you do have any personal question, please do not hesitate to reach out, send me a DM. Thank you so much for joining this episode of AI Book Reading, and catch you guys later for the next event. Talk to you guys soon.